Hello everyone, thank you for being here, and I'll try to keep it short because after that we'll go for lunch, but thank you for your patience. So today I'm going to speak about cross-chain atomic swaps and basically what are the problems and the solutions, because it's a hot topic and we still haven't found a solution for the last 5 years. I was expecting it till now. Okay, so who am I? I already had a very good introduction, so you can see my email. If there is something that you want to share with me, you can go for it. I will skip this slide. And I will start with a table of contents. First of all, I will speak about what are cross-chain atomic swaps, if there is someone who is not familiar. Then I'll talk about the decentralized approaches for cross-chain atomic swaps. But basically, if they're centralized, they won't be atomic swaps. So, yeah. Deep dive into the hash time locked contracts and what is the ultimate solution. Maybe I won't give you the answer, but I'll give some proposals. So, first of all, what are the cross-chain atomic swaps? I want you to see clearly. This is a simple graph that's explaining that basically the cross-chain atomic swaps are swapping token or coin from one chain to another. Basically, if you want to exchange Bitcoin for ETH, you're doing a cross-chain swap. And in order to be atomic, the swap should be, it either happens or it doesn't happen at all. Here I mentioned with some bullets what are the main requirements. Like I said, the protocol should support at least 2 blockchains. It should allow swap between at least 2 parties or more. The other important thing is that all steps should happen or none of them should happen. If I want to swap Bitcoin for ETH with Krasi, who is my colleague, if I send him the Bitcoin, I should receive the ETH. If I don't receive it, my Bitcoin will come back to me. This is one of the hard requirements that we have here. And in order to be decentralized, it shouldn't rely on any third party that could compromise the swap, and we are depending on it. I will go through the different approaches. Some of them are more decentralized, some of them are not that much, but these are different practical solutions that have been used for, let's say, the last few years. One of them is the wrapped coins. It's in fact not a cross-chain atomic swap, but it's kind of workaround. The idea is that if you see here, for example, I have Bitcoin, I send it to some smart contract, but we know that on Bitcoin side, we don't have smart contracts or not that complicated smart contracts, but much simpler ones. So in the case with wrapped BTC, which I'll show you in the next slide, basically they have a custodial wallet. So you're sending the Bitcoin to their custodial wallet. Then they issue a new ERC20 token called wrapped BTC. It comes to your wallet. And then when you're on the ETH side, of course, you can use Uniswap or 1inch or some other DEX or DEX aggregator to swap this wrapped BTC, which is ERC20 token, and convert it to ETH. At the end of the day, you're doing the job, going from Bitcoin to ETH, but it's kind of workaround. So what are some of the problems and some of the good things? Basically, yeah, we have a token on ETH, which is coupled to the Bitcoin, and the ratio is 1-to-1. There are very complicated, let's say, scheme there. You should go to some merchant. You should ask him to allow you to mint the wrapped BTC. If you want to go back from wrapped BTC to BTC, you should go again through their centralized system. So basically, there are a lot of overhead. And one of the biggest problems is that it is centralized. I mean, they have a wallet that they control. So we trust in them that they will keep the ratio between Bitcoin and wrapped Bitcoin equal. Basically, we are not sure if they are doing it. We can monitor the wallet, but at some point they can just move out the Bitcoin and this wrapped BTC token won't be backed by anything. Another approach that I've seen, and it's kind of interesting, is the approach of TBTC. It is another ERC20 token, which is again pegged to the Bitcoin, but it is using these simplified payment verifications. So basically, they have a smart contract which is verifying that you have deposited Bitcoin to their wallet, which is, according to them, using the DKG, which is distributed key generation algorithm. Basically, they have a wallet, but they claim that no one is owning it, but basically it's spread between multiple parties. And when you deposit some funds in this wallet, they then their Ethereum smart contract is basically verifying that you have deposited the Bitcoin there using this SPV. And after that, they mint the ERC20 token and they send it to your address. So this approach is basically a little bit more decentralized and maybe a little bit better, but still it's not the best solution. And we should keep in mind that having this SPV on-chain is kind of expensive process, and it's not very efficient. Then we have the RMBTC, which is another protocol that basically depended on this multi-party computation algorithm. Again, they have some Bitcoin address, Litecoin address, some other addresses on the different chains. So when they receive some payment there, they are minting some ERC20 token. And they said that it is a very novel protocol and it's super decentralized and secure. But at the end of the day, it was not open source. And when they did some audit and some geeks went through the code, they understood that there is like 5 wallets, 5 addresses or parties that are controlling all of the wallets. And these 5 addresses and these 5 parties was in fact some team members. And basically the whole REM protocol was controlled by the company members. So it was not that decentralized as they claimed. Another approach is the Thorchain one. I like it a little bit more than the others because it looks a little bit more scalable and it has a lot of liquidity inside of it. Yeah, by the way, this is another big problem that if you have a cross-chain protocols, it's hard to organize the liquidity pools. Because if it's on one chain, you have one smart contract that can keep the logic. But in case of multiple chains, it's getting messy. So in this case, basically we have the Thorchain, which is a separate chain where they have blocks. If I want to swap ETH for Bitcoin, I should deposit ETH to their vault. When I deposit it there, there is observers. These are in fact the node, the blockchain validators. So when they catch the event that I have deposited ETH to their vault, then they publish it on chain. The other observers are also validating, and if this claim is valid and they add it to the blockchain, then there is some swap logic. And basically, when it's on the chain, the validators approve that the ETH was deposited. And after that, they send Bitcoin to your address. And basically, you just deposit ETH. There is an observer. They confirm, add it to Thorchain blockchain. After that, it is approved, signed by observers, or there are some other set of signers, and they send you the Bitcoin. The cool thing is, like I said, it's much more scalable. At the moment, there are like hundreds of millions of dollars in the protocol, and you can really go and swap Bitcoin for it much faster. So everything looks fine, but there was using again threshold signature scheme, which is kind of let's say not so well audited, and basically the protocol was hacked. The recent hack was for $8 million, and before that there was a few more hacks. And they said that there was some problem with their Thorchain protocol. Basically, someone was able to deceive them and deposit some fake ERC20 token, which the network detected as a real valuable ERC20 token, and that way they drained $8 million. So, yeah, like I said, it's kind of complicated. And the other problem is that there are outages very often. I was using it for one of the projects that we're working on, and at least once a week the whole Tor chain was down and you were not able to swap. So they are not that reliable at this moment. I will go through one another approach in much more details, the hash time locked contracts. We've been building a protocol back in the days with my team, and it was based on these HTLCs. We hit some problems, but we also learned a lot of things. And one of the problems is it's not that scalable, but in my opinion, it's much more simple and secure to some extent. So yeah, I mentioned the protocol that we were building then called GelSwap. So it was a cross-chain atomic swap protocol. It was using and utilizing the HTLCs. It is hard to bring liquidity. Basically, everyone who is a liquidity provider should run their own node, and it should be running 24/7. By node, I mean some software which is dedicated to provide liquidity. Basically, it is a set of listeners who are checking if there is some ongoing quote. If there is a quote, they can match it, and they should listen for the blockchain events. But yeah, like I said, it's much more harder than going to Uniswap and just put there some ETH and DAI and just forget about it. So yeah, it's not that scalable. Also, the HTLC requires multiple steps. This is a very, very big problem by UX perspective, because when you go there, you should click first lock the funds, then go and withdraw them, or click refund, and this could take a couple of hours. Both of the parties should be online, and yeah, it is causing some problems. And there are another big problems with the HTLCs, which I will show you in the next slides in much more details. The main problem with the HTLCs is that they are multiple step process, and you can see here, basically Alice selects some preimage, then she hashes this preimage and receives some result, which we can, for example, call psi, and then Alice is sending psi to Bob, and Bob should initiate the basically not initiate, but send his address to Alice. Then Alice should initiate a hash time locked contract using this psi. Then Bob is basically using the same psi and locking his funds for some time. But this time is basically lower than the time than Alice has locked her funds, in order to have enough time to take the funds and prevent some double spending attacks. And then basically Alice is withdrawing the funds from the Bob smart contract. And then Bob is seeing the secret because it's revealed on chain. And then he can go and withdraw the funds from the Bitcoin side. So you can see it's looking kind of complicated. In fact, it's not that much, but there are multiple steps. And if we look at this from game theoretic point of view, in fact, Alice has advantage in terms of knowing the preimage, and Bob has advantage in terms of having better time limits. Basically, Bob is locking his funds for, let's say, 6 hours, and Alice for 12 hours. So Bob has advantage in terms of time, but Alice has advantage in terms of knowing the preimage. So some of the well-known problems that were not initially resolved by the Non's proposal, which was in 2012, tier Nolan, yeah. So one of the things is that atomic swap is equivalent to premium free American option. What does this mean? That, for example, I'm the first party, I lock my Bitcoin, and I said to Bob, go and lock your ETH. Bob is locking the ETH, and now I have 12 hours window to decide if I want to reveal the secret or not. So this is like having a free option. I mean, if the price of the market goes well and my Bitcoin is costing less than the amount of ETH that is locked, I will go and take the ETH. But if it's the opposite, I will just not fulfill the order, and after 12 hours, I will refund my Bitcoin back. And no one is I'm not enforced to take the action. So yeah, we should solve this problem somehow. The other problem is that both parties can abandon the swap, again, because of this free option. And the last one is the throttling. It is the reversed attack. Basically, I'm the one who pretends that wants to exchange ETH for Bitcoin. And I go to the other party and say, I want to swap 10 ETH for Bitcoin. So the other party is walking their Bitcoin in the protocol. And after that, I don't walk my ETH. So basically, I can walk their funds for 12 hours. And I can do this multiple times. And I can throttle the whole protocol and make it unusable. So I had an idea, and I also read some papers, and I think that this could solve the problem to some extent. Basically, I named it coauthorized hash-time locked contracts. The idea is that we should add some extra incentive for the parties to fulfill the order, and if they don't, they are punished. Of course, we can do it with some reputation and some other cheats, but the easiest way, and that works more efficiently, is if you put some collateral, in my opinion. So if you go to the protocol again, but with this added extra step about the collateral, it will look like this. Initially, Alice is walking some X amount of tokens in some DR contract. DR is like abbreviation for dispute resolution contract, let's say. And the other party, Bob, who is the second party and doesn't have the knowledge about the secret, basically they are locking a little bit less because they don't have to be punished that much. So B is locking like the amount of tokens that Alice walked divided by 2. Maybe it doesn't make sense right now, but later on you will see that these asymmetric deposits are important. I mean, yeah, they are important in order for protocol to work properly. So before you start, it should be something like, I named it guarantee exchange step. It means that I give you something like a note with which if I don't obey and follow the protocol, then you can go and punish me. And at the same time, the other party is also sending the same note, basically the exchange notes. So how does it look like? For example, Bob is receiving the quote in some JSON format. Then Bob is signing this quote and sending this signed message to Alice. And Alice is doing the same, signing the same quote and sending the signed message to Bob. So at some point of the protocol, if you don't follow the protocol, basically you can go and use this signed message and broadcast it to these DR contracts. And if you haven't followed the protocol, basically you will be punished. And I will show you how. Basically, you don't need any kind of oracles or kind of cross-chain communication, but everything depends on if you, for example, if I'm Bob and I want to punish Alice on the ETH side, she has deposit on the DR contract, which is on the ETH side, and her HTOC is also on the ETH side. So I have something like flags, and when Alice initiates the swap, the flag for initiation is set to true. But if at the end of the day I don't withdraw my funds from the HTOC on the ETH side, it means that most probably Alice didn't reveal the secret. Then I can punish her because of that. But yeah, let's see, because yeah, there are a lot of steps, like I said. So the second step is like walking the funds. What's happening? You can see here that Alice is locking her ETH in the HTOC for time t. Then the HTOC smart contract is kind of extended. So it is checking if Alice has deposit in the DR contract. And if she has, then she can deposit in the HTOC. And also the flag for initiating HTOC is set to true. After that, Bob is receiving a notification that Alice has deposited, and he's also depositing some funds in the Polygon site using the hash that Alice is providing. And again, it is going through the same procedure. After that, if everything goes well and smooth, we don't go through the punishing, slashing phase. So basically, if Alice withdraw the polygon from the HTOC, she's also revealing the secret, and Bob can use the same secret and go to the Ethereum site and withdraw the funds from there. So this is the good case where no problems are happening. But what happens if, of course, we have the refund phase. If the time expires, Alice can go and refund her ETH, and Bob can go and refund his Polygon tokens. I introduced a new step, which is called the slashing phase. And basically, this is the phase that should happen if one of them is a bad actor and don't follow the protocol. So in this phase, basically, if I have the guarantee node, I can go and send the guarantee node to the DR contract. The DR contract can do some verifications. And if Bob hasn't finished and followed the protocol, then I can slash him. And also, the other one is true as well. If Alice haven't followed the protocol, Bob can go and slash her. So I've created something like a table with the most common edge cases that are happening and in which we should slash each other. Basically, what could happen? Alice is locking her funds in the protocol, Bob is locking the funds, but then Alice do not withdraw from the Polygon contract. This means that Alice haven't revealed the secret, which means that Bob is also locked, because without the secret, he cannot go and withdraw from the ETH site. So what should happen there? We should slash A, and we shouldn't slash B. And basically, using this structure of extra smart contracts, we can go and slash A, because we have the message that allow Bob to go and slash A through this DR contract where she has deposited some collateral. Also, the second case is if A lock her funds in the HTOC, but Bob doesn't, then everything else is blocked. So we cannot continue. But the thing is that we are working only on this DR contracts only on the one side of the chain. So we cannot communicate in between the chains. So in that case, it will look like Bob can slash A because A hasn't revealed the secret. In fact, we don't know if that happened or not because A cannot continue because B doesn't lock anything at all. So A can slash B for 3/4 of the A collateral, but at the same time, A can slash B for the whole collateral, so basically the punishment of Bob is higher. And at the end of the day, Bob doesn't have incentive to do it because he will lose money. And that way, I mean, both of them are swashing each other, but Bob is slashed for more funds. And because of that, he don't want to cheat the protocol. And you can see that here Bob was the cheater because didn't lock anything. And it was true that, I mean, it was correct that we slashed Bob for more funds than A. And the last one is basically if no one does anything. They exchange the guarantee messages, but after that, they don't initiate any steps. But the problem is that they have the guarantee messages, and now they can go slash each other because these protocols don't have intercommunication and they don't know what happened. They just know that the flags haven't set to true. And now what happened, B can slash A for 1.5 the amount C, and A can slash B for amount C. So A will lose some money, but that's correct, because in fact, A is the one who should start the whole swap process. So if A hasn't started the swap process, B cannot do anything. So A is slashed for more money, and that way, A doesn't have incentive to do it and to try to cheat this way. So, in my opinion, this is to some extent solving the problem. And it is solving the problem with the premium free co-option. Now no one can cheat, because if they do, they will be slashed and they will lose money. They can do it again, but I mean, the other party will receive something as a reward for being part of the protocol. The other one is that they cannot abandon the swap, again for the same reason, because they will lose some money. And the third one is that it is incentivizing the parties to follow the protocol. I mean, they're kind of similar, all of them, but basically they're solving a big part of the problem. So the ultimate solution, I cannot name it, but in my opinion, ThorChain looks like a promising solution if they clean all their bugs. And I don't know if it will be the ultimate solution, but so far, in my opinion, is the most practical one that is working, and you can at least go and do what you want to do. The other option is some kind of improved HTOCs. In my opinion, they're still not scalable enough, and they won't be the ultimate solution, but we'll see. Maybe we can use them much more efficiently. And the last one, which I don't know if it can happen, but I've read some papers about it, is basically off-chain transfer of private keys. It's super efficient because it doesn't have any requirements about the blockchain functionalities, about the hashing functions, and what kind of smart contract the blockchain smart contract language the blockchain support. Is basically, I mean, you can swap any private key for any other, and you can use some off-chain cryptography. The thing is that, can you do it in trustless manner and without these problems? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some way, but in my opinion, this is kind of blockchain agnostic solution that can potentially work for any kind of blockchain, and it's much cost efficient because you don't do many transactions on chain. Yeah, so thank you for your listening, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Okay. If you're hungry, maybe it's better to go for lunch, and after that I'll be around, so we can have some discussions. Thanks again.